Jack, welcome to the Virtual CMO podcast. I'm so glad you could join us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Eric. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited to talk to you because both of our companies serve a similar market where we're helping out small and mid-sized businesses primarily and really helping them with their marketing. And I was so interested when we first got introduced because you've really taken marketing in a different direction. And I think you've capitalized on some of the big trends that are happening in the marketplace today. You know, we've seen things like Robinhood as an investing platform for younger people and millennials, and some of the gamification that's happening in there. And you've tried to do something a little bit similar with Empower in terms of putting marketing in people's hands. I wonder if you could just take a few minutes and sort of explain what the concept is behind it for our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for this opportunity. So to kind of give some context into how did we get here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't just have a bottle of wine and drew this on a napkin and decided the next day we're going to create a digital marketing assistant for business. Yeah. That's not what happened. But what did happen is in 2011, we had started a digital marketing agency that focused primarily on social media, offered in French and in English, because we're based here in Montreal in Canada. And around 2015, 2016, we sat down with the engineers of IBM Watson to consult them on building a digital marketing assistant for a business that would be powered by AI and machine learning, right? To really offer something more simple, efficient, and affordable for a small business. Fast forward to today, we've built the system and we continue to obviously improve it as we go along. But officially today, what we've done is we've been able to catalog and secure all marketing intelligence of any business into one portal. And these clients, they would download Empower, they subscribe and then download the application. And then they basically engage with us on a per item basis. If they need, let's say, newsletters or advertising for social, they can ask for those things. We'll quote them and they'll get accepted. But further than that, we brought the gamification side to it to make marketing fun. And, you know, marketing is one of those things, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? You kind of have to pay for it and you kind of have to do it if you have a business. Right. It's never fun spending money on it, right? So we made sure that experience was simple. It was very efficient and very affordable for our clients. And then we brought the whole gamification aspect of it so they can swipe through cards and recommendations that help educate them along the way, right? So it's not just like we recommend installing the Facebook Pixel or LinkedIn Insight Tag Manager, for example, on your website, but we explain to them why it's important, what's the risk of doing so, what will they benefit, how long does it take, stuff like that. So when a client accepts a recommendation, literally by swiping, right? Exactly like these applications that, you know, we've seen them in dating apps and all these other platforms.
Yep.
Just by swiping, they can take a decision with their marketing. So we make it super easy for them and really fun. You know, they get offers from some of our partners and stuff like that in there. So it's just a great tool for an entrepreneur today who's looking for marketing, but doesn't have the big budgets and doesn't want to kind of sign up to a contract, a long-term commitment. They can just sign up to Empower, and that way we've democratized all professional services and marketing through the app.
Well, one of the things that I really like about the concept is for many small businesses, marketing is hugely complicated. And like you said, it's one of these necessary evils, right? It is an expense. It is costing money. But the problem is when you spend money indiscriminately or you don't really understand what needs to be done. So you mentioned advertising, for example. Let's say you wanted to run a Facebook ad. It's complicated, right? You have to build your audience. You have to build the creatives. You have to test things, do some testing to see what's going to work. You have to have a place where these people are going to go once they click on the ad. There's a lot of steps that have to go into that. And sometimes businesses just don't know what to do and therefore end up spending money needlessly. And so it sounds like that's one of the things that this app can help with, is really guiding people through a process.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. And, you know, most companies, I would say, who use Empower or who use our technology are companies that see the value of being present online today. I mean, we are in a low-touch digital economy today anyways, right? With what's happened in the last year and a half, it's kind of forced people to go online for those who weren't there. And then for those who were so there, now they are very much so there.
Yep.
Right? So all businesses that simply don't have the time, the right resources, or the know-how, I would say those three pain points is a little bit of why we exist. That's like our as they would say in French, our raison d'être. So if a business entrepreneur has these three pain points, they would lean towards an Empower so that they can get whatever it is they need, and as often as they need it. Right, for sure.
I'm curious, you probably are getting some great metrics internally just based on what people are requesting, but what are some of the more common areas that you see businesses really needing help in?
It would definitely be on the advertising side. And it's something that you just touched on a few seconds ago. I mean, I think all entrepreneurs today know that social media is not new.
Right.
It's been around for a while, and even Google, it's been around longer than Facebook and Instagram. So I would say that clients, the content part of things, although they struggle with it, they can still do it themselves to a certain extent.
Sure.
The areas that they need the most help is usually like you said, setting up their ads, building landing pages if we have to go there, their audiences, doing their A/B testing. That's something that they don't even have the time, and some of them don't even have the interest to learn about. So of course we're conscious of that, and we want it to be easy for them. We want them to be able to have a conversation with us, to ask for things in natural language, so that they can exchange with a human being and not a robot. They have dedicated account managers on our side, so they can speak to human beings. And I would say that the main area is definitely anything tied to how do they leverage the paid functions of these platforms. So whether you're talking Google, Facebook, Instagram, name it, that side tends to be a little bit more something that is intimidating, and they won't venture off alone. And if they do, some of them lose a lot of money just discovering as they're learning, because that's what it is, until they resort to, for example, a company like ours or yours, where they can get professional guidance.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective, because I would agree with what you're saying, especially around some of the content pieces that you would create for organic marketing. If you're going to do a blog post or you're going to do some sort of a downloadable asset, there's no time crunch, right? You can edit it today and edit it again tomorrow, publish it next week. You can have multiple people look at it. There isn't that same kind of pressure. But when you turn on a Facebook ad, or you're paying for some Google keywords, right? All of a sudden you've set up a budget, you push go, and that budget starts to diminish very quickly. And if you've done it wrong, it's like, placing a bet on the craps table, right? If you don't know what you're doing, that dealer's going to take that money pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
So I can understand why, the advertising would be a major aspect of what your company does.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like there's a lot of smart, curious entrepreneurs out there, and it's also part of the reasons why they're successful. So they can go discover this stuff on their own, and they really can, and a lot of people do actually. A lot of people go and they start fiddling around. I guess when you deal with companies like ours, Eric, what we end up doing for them is we end up reducing the risk of every dollar invested, at least in that space, right? In ads, right? So we can crush that curve a little bit quicker for them, which is a learning curve and the success curve. So I would say that that's definitely the value that we would bring to them, should they wish to farm out the advertising portion, which I feel that they struggle with the most.
Yeah. Why do you think that a model like this is a little bit more appealing to a certain size business rather than the old sort of dedicated agency model?
Why our model is a bit...
Yeah.
It's more flexible.
I mean, obviously you saw an opportunity in the marketplace, something that wasn't being served by traditional agencies. What really was there that you saw that provided this opening?
Well, basically we saw that it was a very much an underserved market. Like a lot of these little companies, when they would go to any agency, if you didn't have the minimum retainer and you didn't have a contract that you were willing to sign, they sometimes wouldn't look at you, or they would offer you up to their like C and D team, like they have their juniors, their interns and stuff like that. And no company really wants that. So we just found a way to build a beautiful technology, a system that allows for a lot of automation to occur. Okay, so when a client accepts a recommendation or a task, it goes to the right person, right place, right department, I should say, right language, right skill set for execution. So I would say that we saw the opportunity being these people are not well served and sometimes neglected altogether. But they are the businesses that are really, I would say, moving our economies in terms of creating jobs and getting, it is the small entrepreneur today that's making a very big difference in the workforce. And we just saw an opportunity to kind of go there and help that market. And seeing that market was extremely massive, it bodes really well for us in how we tackle our growth going forward. Mind you, some of the partners that we're also working with, they have, tens of thousands of SMBs that reach out to them for a number of needs, sometimes payment processing and stuff like that. So it's an underserved market altogether. They need the most help, I would say, right, in this digital economy, and they don't have the same means, knowledge, budget, etc., as these bigger institutions may have. So at least with Empower, we help level the playing field for them a bit. We really give them access to the same tools, same resources that like maybe some bigger companies would have access to.
So I'm curious, if you switch hats a little bit, you put on your founder's hat and now you're an entrepreneur, you're somebody who's going and developing a company from scratch. So you've got to go through all the same things that your clients are going through, right? You've got to go through that branding step. You've got to build your website. You've got to get the publicity so that people know about you. What has been your journey there personally for the company as you've sort of gone from a startup to actually having a client base?
It's really interesting. You put importance on branding. You put different types of importance on branding at, I think, at different stages of your business.
Sure.
I think when we had our digital marketing agency, we knew that was important. So obviously we did a good job with branding the agency.
Yep.
But moving forward into going into a tech company, we did like a clear pivot from a service company to a marketing technology. We did a formal branding. Like, we didn't do our own branding. We hired a company, independent third party to come in. We paid the big bucks for it, but it was important for us to kind of like to be credible, right? You could come up with the best technology, but if it doesn't present well, if it's not credible, even just upon coming across it or reading more upon it, that doesn't help your cause, right? So, like any entrepreneur, we start with the basics. You start with your business card online, your website, right?
Yep.
You definitely need a logo, right? You need to have like some sort of a visual identity. And for some clients, they'll have the business cards done with us as well. Some people are moving towards digital today, and they're kind of shying away from all that, the old way of leaving someone with some contact info. But definitely the basics would be to get your business card online, set up your website, even if it's as simple as a landing page. If you're strapped for cash and you can't afford something sophisticated, you really don't have to go there. And then apply the best practices that are available. Install your pixels. Make your website a little bit stickier, right? Because there's a lot of traffic that comes to it and they don't take action. So like 9 out of 10 visits actually on your site, my site, any site, they come, they look, and we're all like that too, right? We go, we browse, and then we're done. So we just want to make sure that all businesses are doing the right things at the onset, and these are things that we've done also. Just being a little bit more marketing savvy than the average entrepreneur who starts, for example, let's say a pizzeria or has a car dealership or has a professional services like a clinic, a dental clinic or stuff like that. They don't come in with that same mindset. So, that's what we end up doing for them, is we align that for them and just let them know, if you're on a tight budget, let's start with the essentials. Let's get the essentials out of the way, and then we'll scale our way into advertising and creating more content and growing your platforms, whether it be starting just with, let's say, Facebook, Instagram, if that's the case, and then slowly moving on to other platforms for them as we grow through Pinterest and all these other very popular platforms that you're very familiar with.
I love that you said that, even an expert hires an expert, right? We talk a lot about coaching, or if you are a business owner, it's good to have a mentor or somebody who can challenge you and help get you on the right course, or even validate some of your thinking. But I'm also a huge believer in hiring the right people to do the right job. And maybe even though you have a specific skill set and can do something, that doesn't necessarily mean you're an expert in it. And if you're spending money, why not hire people who are really talented in their field to be able to do that for you, rather than settling for something middle of the road?
And at the end of the day, it boils down to to kind of summarize what you're saying here. we don't know what we don't know, Eric, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, and that applies to all of us, right? Whether you're a big business, big CEO, or like just a marketing manager, like we don't know what we don't know. So it is important to keep that open mind and to invite other talent and other groups to the table when tackling these big things. And branding is a big thing. Like, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
just you look at a lot of these companies today, like, you know, these multinationals, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, like IBM, so many. You can, I mean, the list is it's a long list, but you know, you look at their logo at any country, everyone knows right away who that is, you know. And that speaks volumes, right? So that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that a pizzeria is going to create a logo and everyone all over the world is going to know it. But you have to just you have to understand that your logo has to have longevity to it, and has to stand credible, and depends on your sector and all that stuff. So yeah, branding is super important. You know, your mission, your values, all the way down to the fonts that we use and the colors and the color codes and like, what is that, right? Like, I mean, that's very specific. So we took that pretty seriously. I mean, we wanted to build an international platform. We didn't want to limit ourselves to just being, you know, Canadian or even North American, for all that matters. So branding is important for us, and it should be for all businesses, I think.
You know, the analogy I always use is if you go into a place like a Home Depot and you go into the paint department, they've got these wall of paint chips, right? You know, every little variation of the color white or red or blue or whatever. And you can look at that and it becomes almost mind numbing after a while. If you have to put together 3 colors to decorate a house or a room or something, which 3 do you pick? And then usually at the bottom of the paint stand, they have these brochures where the paint company has taken those chips and put them together in a room for you. And they say, look at this example of a living room, or look at this example of a bedroom. You just need these 3 colors. I always gravitate toward the bottom because the experts picked those. The experts found the combination of these 3 colors that work together. Why do I want to look at this wall of paint chips when I can go right to the expert and get something that's truly going to work together?
Yeah, and I think it's a fair approach. I mean, you just got to stay humble to the game, if we can call it that, right? I mean, know what you know and be comfortable with what you don't know. And like you just said, lean on the experts when it comes to that. It's probably going to save you a lot of time, headache, money, and all that other stuff, you know?
When you also went down this path of having an app, right? And I hear so many businesses that say we need to have an app. And app development is tricky and hard and expensive, right? And I'm curious as to what your experience has been, you know, delving into the world of app development and having this as a critical part of your business.
I would say that it was crucial, and my partner Daniel had this forward vision of, you know, how do we protect? I mean, besides what I said earlier about, you know, cataloging data, zero marketing intelligence loss, he had this vision of ensuring that we also protect our industry and like what we're doing. There's, you know, I'll talk to you about like where we are in Quebec. There's over 1,000 agencies doing similar or offering similar services to us. We firmly believe with technology, machine learning, and AI that market is going to drastically reduce itself over time. It might consolidate in a material way. So in the spirit of protecting our portfolio of businesses, our clients, our revenues, our growth, and everything, and also seeing what tomorrow could look like for business, you know, considering that everybody has a computer in their pocket now. It's called a telephone, right? It's right. Their smartphone we have a computer in our pocket. So we felt it would be important for us to, convert our business and convert our business into the technology that it is today. So it's like the evolution a little bit of digital marketing agencies. And I think that all of them, there's posters you'd see everywhere. You're seeing them online, innovate or die. And it's kind of the truth, you know, it's without trying to sound like a doom and gloom kind of guy. You definitely have to innovate or you're going to be non-relevant. And it's hard to keep up with technology, the pace of technology. And you know it, and I know it. If you look at a MarTech chart, like, and they're just like thousands and thousands and thousands of companies. If you want to give an entrepreneur a mild seizure, let him look at that, you know, like, and tell them find your applications that you're going to run your business. It's going to be like, no, I'm going to pay and you guys are going to find it for me. So yeah, definitely. I would say that's what we did. We looked forward and we saw that the market is going to change, and when it's going to change fast, because technology doesn't wait for you, right? It's either you adapt, innovate, or you're non-relevant. So what we did is we like we said, we sat down with experts. We don't know what we don't know, right? I mean, we don't code anything, my partner and I, right? That's not what we do. So we sat down with those engineers at IBM Watson, and they gave us some great insight, and then that allowed us to come back home, strategize, and initially work with a team, a company that did the initial dev on our platform, and then we started slowly adding our own dev team, and here we are today with about 10 developers, with a chief technology officer on board, spearheading the whole thing, and now we have full control of everything. And we feel the future is going to be bright, and we're really excited about it. That's all I could say.
Well, like we talk a lot on this podcast about meeting your customers where they are. And if you are doing work where you're going to be dealing with a lot of customers that are used to interacting on their phone, they like apps, then that's where you want to be. You want to have an app. If you're an enterprise customer and people are used to dealing with portals and websites and things like that, then maybe an app isn't something that you need. The important thing is to understand how your customers are interacting with your organization today, and then where the trends are going, where people are moving to, so you can stay a little bit ahead of that. But I'm sure we've all experienced, downloading that app from the company that has an app and looking at it and say, this isn't really an app. This is just a website, in a square. It's just not really anything that's of value. And that's that mindset, is we've got to have an app. We've got to have an app. And no, you probably don't, if that's all the effort you're going to put into it.
No, for sure. And at the end of the day, I mean, it was really important for us to work again with professionals, some in-house, some not, to help us design something that would be fun to use, right? Like, what if marketing was fun, Eric? Wouldn't that change the game? Like, for most entrepreneurs, to wake up and want to learn, want to tackle it, and want to grow your business. Well, that's what we tried to bring to the table, right? So it's not just I need Facebook ads or I need a blog. We've gamified the app by letting our clients swipe and learn at the same time. We give them information cards also, where they can download or buy these great books that we recommend that they read to improve their knowledge, improve their marketing skill set. And sometimes they'll find offers from our clients and our partners in that deck. So I know an entrepreneur with Empower who's subscribed to our system, he'll wake up and of course he'll be able to exchange on his last discussions on maybe the changes we're doing on his website. He's going to jump over to his card section to see what recommendations we have for him that week. And then within that, he'll get, let's say, a sponsored offer from one of our partners that's maybe going to lower his payment processing fees in his restaurant. Why not get a free consultation for that? So it becomes a marketplace where all the marketing can be done, but where they can really get a lot of insight and a lot of help with other things that touch their business. So it's lovely in that way, right? It makes it more pleasant to come back to.
Well, you talked about that MarTech eye chart that we've shown several times on this podcast, and there are so many solutions out there, so many things that do very similar functions. And, we are bombarded by sales messages all the time. And I think as a business owner, it's hard to know what direction to look at because there are just so many choices. So I think one of the benefits that a company like yours can provide is cultivating that information a little bit more. Say, hey, these are trusted partners. These are people we know that can help you out of that sea of noise that's out there. Here are some things that maybe you might want to pay attention to. I think that's good. Yeah, it's a sponsor. Yeah, it's an advertisement in a way. But if it can be cultivated in such a way that it's of value to the audience, I think there's real value in that.
Well, at the end of the day, it boils down to what you just said. It's about the value. Okay. It's not about, we're not throwing packs of gum at them.
Yeah.
No, we're trying to help them save money, whether it's lowering their processing fees. If it's with a financial partner that wants to offer them a discount on a line of credit for business, all these things really move the needle for any entrepreneur today who's super strapped for cash, time. These people they put their whole life, their energy into their businesses. And by coming to Empower, sure, we'll definitely help you first with your marketing, but I'd love to be able to help him or her with any other thing they may need that really helps their business overall, right? And that's really the notion of being empowered together, as we call it. It's in our logo. That's what that is. It's
Yes.
really coming together to help each other genuinely and like intrinsically helping each other.
I think that's great. We talk often about adding value, whether or not you're going to get anything out of it. It doesn't really matter. If you're adding value over time, that will be a win for you because people will see that you're adding value. They will recognize that and they'll reward you for it. It doesn't always have to be transactional in nature. So I love that. Jack, I think it's a really interesting concept that you guys have put together. I know you're just up in Canada right now, but hoping to expand down the road. So I'd love it if you could just tell people a little bit more about the company, where they could find out additional information, where they could kind of keep an eye on you.
Well, that's lovely. Thank you for that. Basically, if they want to follow us, they can definitely follow us on socials. On all social channels, we have presence. But I'd encourage any of the viewers, listeners to visit our website at empower.social. The .social replaces the .com. A lot of people ask me to explain that. So www.empower.social. They can ask for a free demo, and they'll speak to one of our qualified reps. Be more than happy to jump on a call with them. And you'll be, once you subscribe to our platform, we'll send you your login information. You'll be able to download the accompanying apps that's available on Google Play and the App Store. And then you get your swipe on, let the system learn. The more you swipe, the more you use Empowered, actually the smarter it gets over time. So that's a key component that we probably didn't mention in the beginning of the call, but it makes it worth it for a business to invest their time and their requests through it. But if you want to stay on top of what we're doing, obviously we update our blog regularly. You can follow us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Instagram. A little bit more active there. And definitely maybe ping me myself on LinkedIn if you want to have a discussion with me. Let's connect on LinkedIn and have these one-on-ones together. I mean, I speak to entrepreneurs, VCs, so many different, I would call them institutional partners on a daily basis. And even when I'm done this call, I'm talking to other VCs that are looking at us, some in the States, some in Canada. But I'd invite people to connect with me. I love connecting with new people. This is how I met you, Eric. We just pinged each other on LinkedIn. And then all of a sudden I meet this super friendly guy who's got this great podcast going on. Is excellent at what you do. I really like the way you moderate. I've listened to many of your podcasts.
I appreciate that.
I think you're really good at what you do. And I want to thank you again for just making time to have me on the call and to just share this insight with you guys. It's really been a pleasure for me, Eric. I appreciate it.
Well, hey, thanks. I've enjoyed having you on the show. Love talking marketing. Love seeing innovative new concepts going out into the marketplace there. Yeah, and I'm excited about what you're doing, and I'm really looking forward to the expansion and hopefully your arrival here in the U.S. So, Jack, thanks so much. We'll make sure to have all that linked up in the show notes so that people can find you.
That's excellent. I think we put out also just for the viewers and those who are going to listen to this on a separate note on another time. I think anyone who contacts us and mentions your podcast, the CMO podcast, they're going to get 250 credits on their signing. So we'll give them a special offer that way for those who want to try Empower.
Hey, that's awesome. I really appreciate that. And we'll make sure to note that in the notes as well. So that's great.
That's awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate your time today.
No, thank you, Eric. It's been a pleasure.